Here, you carry on. I'll just get those links off.
Hey, ladies and gents, we are live. Yes, we are. Welcome to today's totally random, off the cuff, needs to be done universal podcast with myself, AJ Roberts, former squaddy knobhead turned spiritual knobhead, and I'm with the legendary Mark Attwood, also a former military knobhead, now a spiritual knobhead. We've been chatting the last few days and we thought it was perfect opportunity to just jump on a podcast together. Apologies for the background. I've logged into my StreamYard and it's literally like talk about reminiscing. This is like the background from my podcast when COVID first started and stuff like that. And a lot of people were like watching a lot of podcasts and I have no idea how to change it. There's no access. There's no idea that, obviously it's, in the background there is the city of London. So maybe that's we're just putting comms out by default. You can see the raising of the flag there, and not a trans one. So yeah, it's good to catch up again, mate. And
great to see you.
Yeah, like it's been a while since we actually did a podcast. I mean, it was probably this background that I had way back then, and it's But you've been on an amazing journey as well yourself, you know what I mean? And you've opened like a healing place. I know, our great friends, Dr. Joe and Kelly from Crystal Water Experience have spent a lot of time with you as well, which has been amazing to see. And it's really great to see like how all these people are working kind of like in unison in the background. They're on their journeys, but it all links together. And they really kind of complement each other like extremely well, don't they?
No, it's extraordinary. I think it's about 3 years since we did a podcast. But I got invited. Brad Wozni, obviously, and Derek, and I remember getting an invite to that about a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago. And the reason I didn't do it is because I don't consider myself to be a veteran, because I left the Air Force before I finished training, and you guys were all like did full service, and I thought I didn't think I fitted in with that, so I didn't do it. But I've been watching you from afar and reposting you as much as possible, and it's getting more and more interesting with the journey you've been on, and it's so amusing to me that there's like this bunch of us that have a military background. And I think I was, I don't know what you think, but I was placed there the way I understand it. I was trying to explain this earlier today to my daughter, saying, look, I was obsessed with flying from as long ago as I can remember.
Yeah.
I could fly before I could drive. I found the Air Cadets when I was a kid, and I went there a year and a half before I was old enough to get in. And I went in, and I was all keen to join, and they were like, "No, I'm sorry, you're 18 months too young." I think I was about 12 years old, and I got into the Air Force at the highest level, and then I met Prince Philip at St. James's Palace, probably in that picture somewhere, and I turned up to St. James's Palace to get the Duke of Edinburgh's Gold Award, but I delayed it by about a year and a half because my dad had died and I'd had to go and do some training. So I turned up in my number one uniform because it seemed like the right thing to do, but he didn't recognize the uniform. Did I ever tell you that story?
No.
Yeah, he came down the line and he was shorter than me, and I'm 5'7" 3/4, 0.2, which is a bone of contention with my daughters. They think I'm 5'6", but actually if you're watching, girls, I'm taller. All right. And he came along and he was shaking my hand. I can still feel his hand. I can still feel it. Bony, horrible grip. And his eyes were unbelievable. And this is in 1988, 89. And he was a million years old then. And he shook my hand and he looked me up and down and he said, "I see you've joined the Royal Air Force, sir." Somebody whispered it into his ear. And I'm looking at him going, "What? You were made Commandant of the Royal Air Force in 1958. 30 years. How do you not recognize this uniform?" That was what was going through my head. And I said, "That's right, sir." And I did it like sarcastically, and he whipped his hand away, gave me the filthy look, and moved on. And then I walked out of there. I think I spent the afternoon with the New Zealand rugby captain, David Kirk, and had a really good chat with him. But then I came out with my mum saying, "Mum," well, I don't know if I actually said this to her, but I was like, "Who am I working for? Who are these people?" That's when it started for me, because I was brainwashed. I mean, I say brainwashed, I mean this in the nicest way. I just believed that it was a great idea. I was inspired by, the Battle of Britain. I was inspired by the stories of these men that stood up for freedom in Britain. And I loved where I grew up. I grew up in a village called Budbrook in Northamptonshire in the 70s, and it was idyllic. It was like Lark Rise to Candleford. It was I was outside all the time. It was catching rabbits. It was scrumping. It was kiss chase in the schoolyard. There were no fences anywhere. It was just brilliant. I had a fun. Neighbors just walk into the house for a cup of sugar. All sounds like cliches now, but it was an amazing time to be a child. And then, I used to come home from Air Cadets. I remember on Thursday evenings, I'd get back and I'd rush back home to watch Question Time, because I knew that I had to be, as part of the Air Force thing, you had to kind of pass current affairs stuff. You had to understand what was going on in the world. So Question Time, which was really a panel of paedophiles, but I didn't know that then. And then I'd watch it. I'd be so interested in the issues of the day. And then at the end of Question Time, the BBC would come on, the British Brainwashing Corporation would come on and go, and that's all from the BBC. And then they play God Save the Queen. And I used to stand to attention in the room on my own when nobody else was around. This is how much I love my country and how much I wanted to. I was obsessed with it. But it was heartbreaking leaving that career behind, because, I dreamt of it my whole life. And but I think I was put there to see that. When I look at what I've done in the last 5-10 years, I think about that time as a time where I was put there by God, basically, to see that situation. And there were other things that happened. There was, I was in Germany flying over nuclear silos every day. And then I got into the mess one day, and there was the front page of the Daily Telegraph, which I ended up working for 2-3 years later. The article, the front page was, "Margaret Thatcher denies any nuclear weapons outside of the UK." And I was like, whoa, they're lying to the people. I was like, they're lying to the people. What? And the thing is, I was the only working class pilot in the Air Force. Everybody else was public school. So I got on with them. There was 1 or 2 that I got on with, but they didn't like me anyway. So I resigned, and it took me a year to get out. They kept sending this squadron leader to take me out for dinner and groom me back into the Air Force, but it didn't work. So anyway,
do you think do you think the flying's very much connected to your sort of more extraterrestrial experiences? And
I'm so glad you asked that, because that's exactly what I think it is. Yeah.
Like I mean, you've had like contact and sightings and that for quite a long time, and obviously where you are now, and I've been for some time, it's almost it's a given, isn't it? It's very actually similar here in Lincoln, like for myself. But again, these are our amazing realities we're experiencing, right? It's interesting you said about the flying stuff, because I did a few flying lessons. I was desperate to fly. I was desperate to transfer from the Royal Engineers to the Army Air Corps to fly helicopters. And I did the
that would have been the Gazelle then, wouldn't it?
No, it was actually when Afghan was pretty hot, so like everyone wanted to be an Apache pilot. So I did the selection. I went to RAF Cranwell, and I scored really high on it. Same as like fighter pilots in the RAF, and it was very maths and obviously physics minded, as you know.
Well,
speed times distance calcs.
Physics just for that job,
yeah. But I've always been like a massive physics geek as a kid anyway, so it's like I found it quite okay, quite comfortable. But then I got a letter after being told I'll be doing my flying grading within like 4 weeks. I then got a letter to say they're not taking me because of my eyesight, and said it's outside of the parameters of what we want for the next 10 years. And I'm just like, what? And I'm like, all right, well, I'll go get a laser eye surgery. And they're like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, well, that's bullshit. Because I was like, my brother is SF, got laser eye surgery to go SF. So it's they just kept kicking me back, and I was like, what is this about? Obviously I wasn't supposed to go on that path. But when I was in Afghanistan in 2011, 2012, I was on the Trojan tanks a lot, right? Which is obviously, I was commanding the tank, commanding that big vehicle. But obviously similar to the flight, the planes, you got like 2 joysticks that you use and stuff like that. So it's like, it just feels proper natural. So it's amazing how, people and every, this is for everyone listening as well. Like, think back to the job roles you've actually done, and actually how natural some certain parts of skills and assets actually felt like you've done it a million times before. You actually be amazed if you really sit and think about it. Like, wow. And like I always say, like our talks and on a lot of videos, like everything we've really done up until now has literally been our basic training for this next phase, with this quantum phase of evolution that we're all going through right now.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. And it's like one of the things I wanted to obviously discuss was like what people are actually going through at the minute, in terms of like the body, the mind, the pull of the soul. People are starting to feel and act on that beating drum in their chest, that's kind of taking them in the direction they need to, or it's kicking their ass a little bit because they're not making the changes needed to follow that, their soul's evolution. And one of the big things I've noticed, and I've seen it with my family, I've seen it with close friends, there's been a lot of dark nights of the soul at the minute, for a lot of people, pretty much since Christmas.
Yeah.
And I've said for a couple of years when people ask me about like, oh, do you think, when's the EBS coming? When's the EBS coming? The more and more I've like really sat with it, and the more I felt like an EBS as such of what you would experience would very much be from within. So it's almost like, and it's like the nuclear football going off in your chest, right? As in what Trump carries around. But it's, it's like a nuclear explosion within the chest. So that would obviously explode multiple D-class truths coming out. And that's literally what we've seen across the board. Everywhere you look, it's just D-class, 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 isn't it?
Boom, 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 boom. It's like crazy.
Yeah. So it's almost like the dark night of the soul has pretty much gone on for about 10 days, which I feel is the 10 days of darkness. It's a 10 days dark night of the soul, where it's like literally like a roller coaster, like you're on a frigging ayahuasca ceremony every day.
That's so funny. I actually said that on a podcast today. I said all of this is like an ayahuasca journey. I was like, what's it like? And, well, it's very hard to explain unless you've done one.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a mushroom.
You're living
trip.
it. Yeah. It's a mushroom trip. And what's really funny about, like you said, mushroom trip, right? I was having this conversation yesterday about loads of people's fears are coming to the surface, like, that all their old ego patterns and stuff. And a lot are in people's dreams as well. Yeah. So it's like, so they're coming up, like I've had it where I've had all these things presented in front of me like a little reel, like you get in ayahuasca. Yeah. And then I'm like, right, I get it now. And then, but like the fears have all been put on us because from a young age, because of we are that powerful, but B, like they know what our missions were or our alignments were.
They knew before we got here.
Absolutely, mate. And it's like, so they're going to put everything that's related to that as a fear in you, right? So check this out. I've got I had a fear of horses my whole life, right? I'd never even been on one.
Keen on horses.
Yeah, I'd never even been on one, right? Never been on one, and until last year, or the year before. But like, I'd never been on one, and I always was really fearful of them, and I never knew why. I always see them as a majestic animal on the TV. It was like, wow, but then at the same time, I go near them, I'm like, whoa. And I always hated mushrooms, right?
No, I was talking to my kids about this the other day. It's like, one day you're going to love these. And they're like, no, I'm never going to love them. I used to sneak them into the spaghetti bolognese by chopping them up really small, and they always found them.
Oh, yeah. But same. My mum did that. But it's like, but I literally was like, I couldn't go anywhere near them, right? I always hated pugs. And
pugs?
I always hated cats.
What's a pug?
As in the dog.
Oh, the little pug. Right, yeah.
yeah, and
checking
but yeah, no, definitely not in the army.
You're in the army,
yeah. But now, right, I literally live with Corin, who is mad about horses, who I rode my first horse with, and I literally live with a pug and a cat, and
that's hilarious.
And love a few mushrooms.
Well, me too. I take them every day.
Yeah. So
microdosing is such a simple, cheap, easy, brilliant thing to do. I mean, it's the psilocybin will cure depression. We have a machine in the healing center called the Rockseaver, which kind of emulates it with light and sound, and people love it when they go in it. They don't know what it is until they go in it, but you know, it's got a sound healing bed and a light thing that kind of creates this digital trip. Cool. But nothing beats the psilocybin. And I was terrified of this stuff because, you know, when I don't know about we used to get lectures in the military. The Air Force used to give us like full-on lectures about, you know, drugs and LSD and mushrooms and all of this stuff. So I mean, the one that really scared me was they said if you ever take anything like that, you might have a flashback. And if you're flying a plane and you have a flashback, that's kind of bad. So it put me off for years and years and years. So I never got involved, and I'm not a drug user anyway, and I don't think of these things as drugs at all. They're plant medicine. And once you understand, but even I remember when I was trying to book my first ayahuasca journey, this guy interviewed me on the phone and he said, and how do you feel sitting with the grandmother? And I'm like, I'm on the phone going, sitting with the grandmother? What's this fucking dick talking about? It's a fucking trip. What's he talking about? I didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
Did not have a clue. And I often describe my long dark night of the soul was really, it was like God with a massive fish just smacking me around the face until I eventually realized, oh, okay, I've got to start paying attention to this. And sorry, where do you get them from microdosing? Says Daryl. Hi, Daryl. There's a guy in America that I go to called Anthony D'Alessandro. I can't remember his website, but Trillium Botanicals, that's it. Tell him I sent you. He's a great guy. He really, really understands the plant medicine, has done for years. He does incredible bespoke healing protocols for people with cancer and stuff like that. And, you know, this psilocybin is just, it's off the charts amazing what it can do for your brain and your day. It just makes you more creative. It makes you focus better. It just does so many things. That's why it's outlawed. And here in the west of Ireland, there's a place where the mushrooms grow in a sheep field, which is on the same site where the kings would be coronated and buried. And it's an amazing place. And they are the ayahuasca of these lands. You know, the British Isles are incredible for magic mushrooms. And these things contain so much information that, you know, that you've got access to if you have the guts to take them and do it in a proper ceremony. It's, you know, highly, I don't recommend anything like that, actually. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't want to get in trouble. I'm not, you know, don't make your own choice. Don't try this at home.
That's right, mate. I'm sure everyone knows it's the mushrooms talking. Don't worry about it. Yeah, no, I totally get you. You know, the benefits, you know, since working with multiple different plant medicines, you know, obviously we run our retreats in Portugal and where people come and sit with grandmother, you know, 3 times a year. And
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah. And it's amazing. Like, I absolutely love it. And we're going again in April, June and September. Although September, we're looking at having our wedding out there. However, obviously,
sorry, I'm reading the comments while I'm listening to you.
Sitting with grandmother for the first time was an absolute game changer for me. Like, because, you know, like when you've been through a lot in your life, and I always say, like, it doesn't heal your traumas. The medicine literally just shows you, and you know, the way, the things you need to work on and heal. It doesn't say like, right, you need to quit your job, bin your missus, sell everything, and like move south. Like, you know, she doesn't show you that kind of stuff. It's very much about the aspects of yourself that, you know, need some attention, need some healing, and all that, and then works within the body forevermore, like with you, you know. And that's the beauty of it. That never leaves you.
And I learned. I mean, you know, I've been saying this for a few years now. There's no such thing as a bad trip, and there's no such thing as hallucination, because they unlock other dimensions that you couldn't see previously. And a bad trip, there's no such thing, because you're getting exactly what you need at that moment.
100%.
At that moment. And you know, this whole thing in the last 20 years has been like one big trip. It is like a big it is.
Yeah, it's been one crazy trip. And I think as well that, you know, we have people who come to our house and, you know, have Cambo and stuff like that, and come for like one-to-ones with Corin and stuff quite a lot. Whether it's that or whether it's coming to Portugal or stuff like, you know, it's the people are very much cool to it. You know, we like you just mentioned before about ceremonial. Like if you're dousing in this stuff at parties and that, you're gonna get exactly what you need at that time. You know, the consciousness is met with the consciousness you put in with it. So, you know, it's just you'll get that reflection. You know, obviously Ricky Lambert.
I know him well.
We did a show down south, like not November last year before, with Matt.
I saw the video of you with Tom Numbers there, and
and but we played this game at the end where it's very much like that program Would I Lie to You, and so they had to basically come out with the story and whether the crowd say yes or no. And he told a story about a mushroom trip he had, and but he did it at a party, and it basically put him in a 27-year loop and said nothing's real, but like didn't expand on it. So he didn't then go like, well, yeah, it's not. It's just consciousness experiencing consciousness. He literally was like, when he came out of it, he was freaking out because he said he thought his kids weren't real, and then he was in this loop, and it was just go round and round and round. But he was under the influence of alcohol at a party, taking them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, this is why when my eldest son was 15, I deliberately did a mushroom ceremony in my house with him, my best mate, whose brother died in 9/11, and my mum. And we did an 8-hour mushroom ceremony. My mate Matt, he brought the music that was it was a playlist created in the 60s, I think, that would give you the maximum spiritual experience. And we laid down under the blankets, did this properly, cleaned the space, did it all ceremoniously, which is what you must do. If you're watching this and you've never done it, you have to do it with people that know how to protect the space. Somebody made a comment there about people say that demons can come in through that. I agree with that. You know, you've got to have a clean, spiritually clean space to do it. And we did that, and it was hilarious actually, because it was beautiful, because my mum came out of it, and she was about, how old would she have been? She was about 66 at the time, something like that. And she'd lost her identical twin sister to cancer about 25 years ago. And I said, what was it like, Mum? And she went, oh, I met Sally, and I was, you know, we walked up this mountain and chatted for hours, and I said goodbye to her at the pearly gates. And I went, that's amazing. That is so beautiful. And then I saw her again in Birmingham 2 weeks later in a pub with her friend who just lost her own daughter. And she, after a couple of pints, she turned to me and said, do you believe in the afterlife, Mark? And then my mum went, I don't. And I went, what do you mean you don't? You just went up the mountain with your fucking twin sister and said goodbye at the pearly gates of the mushrooms 2 weeks ago. She went, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And that's what happens with a lot of plant medicine, is that a lot of people, as you just said, the consciousness meets the consciousness. So you have an experience that fits you at that moment and your level of consciousness. And it's not a competition, right? But I met so many people that were like, I mean, I first came across ayahuasca when I started reading Stuart Wilde's books. Have you ever read The Infinite Self and all that? You'd love Stuart Wilde's stuff. He was the first guy to be published after Louise Hay had the big hit with You Can Heal Yourself. I think he was the first author that Hay House published that wasn't her. And he gave some, have you ever heard of him, AJ? No. Oh, man. He was pioneer, but very interesting. And it relates to the question about the demons that somebody just put up, because, and also relates to people talking about UFOs being demons, because that's one of the things Stuart Wilde said. But he was running ayahuasca ceremonies in Holland in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. And I really wanted to meet him, but I never got quite got there. I was close to meeting him, and then he died in Ireland, weirdly, which is where I am now. But he said that the UFOs were demons, and I was like, I never agreed with that. I still don't, and it makes you wonder about the whole Hay House thing, because Hay House, as the spiritual publishers, he went pro-COVID. You know, they were, you know, they lost it. They lost the. They didn't read the room. You know, it was really bizarre. But I've gone off on a tangent. What was I talking about?
The ayahuasca trip and the author Steve Wild and COVID obviously being publicized by the book people, which I actually seen a number of elderly spiritual influencers who have a lot of books with certain publishers that have been somewhat targeted over the last few years by demonic forces. Absolutely. So it does occur.
Yeah, it does. It's 100% real. I think I wrote a book about it, actually. I just happen to have a copy here somewhere. Here it is. Weapons of Mass Protection, Practical Tools for Spiritual Warfare, written by me and Abby Wynn. There you go. And I'm really glad we wrote this, actually. It was Abby's idea. And it's so funny when you look back and you realize that actually you're in your own hero's journey, right? And the human race is in the hero's journey. And if you're watching this and you've never heard of the hero's journey, go and look up Joseph Campbell, The Hero with 1,000 Faces. I think it was published in 1936. And I discovered this about 30 years ago. And I used the hero's journey for a comedy show that I directed that went on and toured the world, got turned into a BBC play, went into the West End, all because of the hero's journey. Because the hero's journey it resonates with us. You know, the story of Jesus is the hero's journey. Luke Skywalker in Star Wars is the hero's journey. Best example. And it's like, that's where we're at right now. We're in the final act where it looks hopeless. And then suddenly Han Solo comes out and says, off you go, kid. And boom, we turn it all around.
Yeah. And I think going on to like the military movement that we're actually seeing, especially in the UK, obviously I follow it rigidly, and the universe just literally throws it in my face every day, like what's where. I don't even have to look. And you know,
that's why I go to your X account, because I know you're on it.
Yeah, it's I'm literally just seeing it all straight away. And obviously, when you really understand military operations and laws and orders and stuff like that, and you know, none of this stuff can happen without military laws and orders in place. And you know, this operation goes back like way pre-COVID, 2012. You know, round about probably just before.
Decades.
Yeah, but you know, in terms of like what we're seeing, like around about 2010, 2011. Was it 2010, 2011? Or was it after then? Might have been slightly after. Might be like 2012 when it kicked off in Syria, and that basically was all done by design. You know, to flood Europe full of migrants and continue to flood them, and just then, you know, within a year, people have forgotten about it because it's on to something else. But in that time, it's just like that number's just grown and grown and grown and grown, and that's why Scandinavia, especially, is the rape capital of Europe. Right? You got a absolute complete different ideology of heavily programmed people en masse coming into your lands of complete different ideologies and backgrounds and lineage, that Nordic reason on purpose. And this is why Greenland's being taken back, or it's already been taken back, but it's being optically secured. Because if you secure Greenland, you're securing the magnetic north to its original template, like to Scandinavia, northern Russia, Siberia, UK, and everything else like that. Like that's why we've always been at war, and why we've been basically treated like cattle on a human farm of an island more than any other country. You know, and Ireland, your island. Because of the power of the land. It's the most powerful land in the world.
I was saying that just 2 hours ago in the healing center.
Yeah.
It's all about the power of the land.
All about the land.
Yeah.
And that's why we're kept off it with like pedos and stately homes, and you know, like all boxed in little brand new builds and that, like everywhere.
Do you get this, that they've placed a lot of these buildings like the Rothschild Manor on these important spots? Like there's a place near here 30 minutes away, which is off the coast of Sligo, which is where John Dee sank the Spanish Armada 3 times, not once, not twice, 3 times. He told Queen Elizabeth, "You do not need to raise an army. I'll deal with it." Came here, and the download I got is that there's a big house there. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It will come back to me, but it's where Mountbatten lived, right? So Charlie's uncle, and I believe that spot where this house, it's like Dracula's castle. It's on a mound overlooking the sea, the whole cove. That's where his boat got blown up in 1979 with 2 young boys on it, allegedly by the IRA, but I think it was MI6. But you know, this is they know exactly where they've placed these things. They've locked this energy in, which is how they've controlled the hologram or the matrix or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about the grids, and you know, this has been as part of the prophesized awakening, etc., etc. It was always going to happen once the land was awakened, and we connect with the land. You know, so it's actually been connecting with the land more that's been awakening people from within, like, you know, at a deep cellular level. So you're becoming that conduit. At the same time, the sun's getting brighter. You know, the light codes coming in are just stronger and bigger. So you know, it's sped up for everybody because, you know, at a rapid rate, probably in the last month, you know, since Christmas, which is before Christmas, you know, and people's gifts are coming through because of it. Like language is coming through, different dialects, like very vivid dreams, even ET contacts in dreams and all this kind of stuff. But it's because the land's alive. You know, like I know with somebody that's done a lot of like grid work, especially here in Lincoln around the cathedral, its structure, its build, and the golden lines here in England. I absolutely know that, and that's why I've had my head in maps forever. You know what I mean? Just been a map geek all my life. So you know, it makes perfect sense. But like now these sort of like 5th dimensional grid lines are actually awakened. That's what's rapidly exploding it all, because we're connecting to that organic template. So you know, the Christos within is awakened within people, and I really feel like the land's active now, and that's why so many people are literally acting as like pins in a bridge, you know, all over in the like where you are, where I am, wherever everyone is tuning in from. You're literally in the right place at the right time now, and the pins are active. Like, you're all conduits of powerful fucking magnetic light, and our job has been anchoring these pins in. Like,
but
you know,
it's so interesting to hear you say that, because I came to these conclusions myself because I didn't understand why I was in Ireland, what I was doing, why I got told. I literally got told to start a podcast, and I was like, what? Really? You know, because I've been talking about this stuff for years on Facebook, but never on video, never did a podcast about it, because I thought it would destroy my business. And I've got 5 kids to bring up, and I just separated from my wife. You know, I had a lot of financial responsibilities, and I thought, I can't do it. And I literally got nagged, literally, to the point where I just shoved the phone into my son's hand and said, film me. He said, why? I said, I don't know, just film me. And I spoke, and that started the whole thing. And I was stood in the back door of this house in Ireland, and I'd moved from Marrakesh like 3 years earlier, and I couldn't understand what I was doing here. And I literally looked up and said, what the fuck am I doing here? And I got told, you're exactly where you need to be, and you're helping to hold a grid of consciousness across the earth. And I was like, what? What's that? I didn't have a clue you know, I had to work this out, you know. And that's what I find interesting about the reason why this time and this spiritual journey that we're on is like an ayahuasca trip, journey, or whatever you want to call it, is because you get shown what you need to know at the time you need to know it.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I first started the podcast stuff, I started talking about demons, and I came off this show, I think it was with Charlie Ward, and I was like hitting myself on the head going, oh my God, I'm ruined. I've talked about demonic possession. I actually knew loads about it. I just never talked about it. And I really thought I was done. It was all, regardless of COVID, I thought I'm finished. Nobody's ever going to work with me again. My business is finished. And then I got thousands of emails from people saying, same thing, never talked about it. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And it wasn't until I got to America in 22 when people were coming up to me crying their eyes out, saying, you saved my life. And I was like, how? What did I do? And it was just to be there. It was because all the spiritual nodes in this world, right, most of which are probably watching this, were isolated on purpose. And it was like, kill yourself. I mean, the suicidal thoughts I had in 2017, 2018 were all put that they've been trying to kill me my whole life. And they even cut the fuel lines on my car in 2020. That nearly killed me and 2 kids, but it didn't. And, you know, we have to understand that we are protected. We are unbelievably protected. And whatever you've done in your life that's stupid or ridiculous or wrong because of booze or drugs or some mistake or ripping somebody up, you're forgiven. Just move forward in the right way. That's where we're at right now, I think. It's so seeing the people within the long dark night of the souls at the moment is, I completely concur with that, because I get a lot of emails and I speak to a lot of people. And, you know, I keep telling them the same thing. It's good. We're still in the year of the snake until February the 17th. So we have to understand that these things are being shedded for your benefit. You are being shown these lessons for your benefit. You're going through pain for your benefit. You know, that's what's beautiful about it.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And it's but we're here to experience it all. That's the thing, isn't it? Like, you know, but that's what we've got to remember. Just individually, we're here to experience it all. And I did a podcast with an awesome lad earlier. He's still classed as serving police, but he's started a podcast and he's kind of at home, like doing a lot of stuff about resilience.
He's serving copper and he's doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Does he not get in trouble for that?
No, it's all about the content. So, but it was actually, we had a really powerful, masculine, spiritual, like sharing vulnerabilities about our past, about traumas, and like we're the only we're the only species to hold them in the body, and they're actually triggered, and that's what it was a really powerful conversation like that. And he's actually putting it out in the morning, because I was just like, we need to get this out, because for the male population especially, it's going to like really benefit them, you know. And it just really made me realize just how the depths of the kind of dark night of the soul people have been having, but also it's been needed so that people can hold these big high frequencies for this flip that we're pretty much in now. You know, I got a strong feeling like every day, like it's done. It's absolutely done.
It's done.
And my old dear came through the other day. She passed away just over a year ago, and she literally said the pins are in once.
Beautiful.
And what was mad about that is, obviously I'm an ex-Royal Engineer, like we build bridges, don't we? Like, and pin in is a big saying.
Bridges, man. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Because the fucking bridges thing has been following me around since I learned about Dolores Cannon saying if you're this age at this time, you're a bridge between a warrior and a healer. And I was like, well, this is interesting. Blah blah blah. We opened the healing center nearly 3 years ago, and somebody came in and said, "You realize you talk about bridges, Mark, on your podcast." I went, "Yeah," and they went, "You realize you're on Bridge Street and there's a bridge out the window?" And I went, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding?" I didn't. I was like, "Wow,
right,
but you're a bridge builder."
Yeah, and check this out, right? Like my mum's voice came in and went, "The pins are in." And it was actually when my Corin landed in Portugal. And I was like, wow, that's cool. But then it's like my stepdad was also Royal Engineers, was a bridge layer. But my mum, it was a year before she died. She had a bad accident on a cruise ship off the coast of Portugal, literally opposite where Corin is now. Broke her leg, like literally just walking down the gantry. That wasn't rocking or anything. And she had to have all pins in her right hip, like in Portugal in a mainland hospital, like literally near where Corin is now. And it was her voice that came through. I was just like, what? And I was like, I totally get it. But I really think it's actually what it's really showing me is that the bridge is built, like we've built the bridge. So we're all the pins to this bridge, to this star bridge. And the amazing work that people have done around Pewsey Vale in particular, and that subsequent area where the 11D Stargate is, with the White Horse. It's the energy of the whole Vale. You know what I mean? Has been activated basically. So that's why we're literally at warp speed now, experiencing what we're experiencing.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I said to you before we started that I was in Avebury last year, and I'm pretty sure I went to the White Horse, and I walked up there, and there's a huge what's it called? It's like Cleopatra's Needle. What do they call it? A plinth.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's built there on the hill, and then you look at the story of the plinth, and it was built in the 1700s by this philanthropist. I don't trust them. And I was like, that's another energy harvesting thing. It's like when I don't know if you watched that film I did at Arbor 3 years ago, Gillian in England, but we unlocked these. She'd been going there 50 years and she'd never even seen them. They were like these huge concrete square blocks with VR on every lane line. There were 9 lane lines in Arbor, and there was a 10th one with GR, Victoria Regina, George Rex. We energetically unblocked them, and then the sun came out of nowhere and it changed in front of us. And I had 2 women walking a dog. I had Gillian, I had the cameraman. We all stood there and watched the sun literally change in front of our eyes. And it had a black outline and with a white light going round like this. And then it started gushing out all these different colors. And I was like, are you getting this on camera, Kieran? And he was like, yeah. And the camera didn't capture it, but it captures our responses to it. And then after that, people all over the place went out and started doing all this grid work, as you call it. And I think it's so important that people understand what this is, because the vast majority, we never got taught it. I had to learn on the job, as it were. I didn't really understand it until when I got to Arbor, I literally got a voice saying, go over there. And how do you explain that without sounding like you're completely crazy? But that's exactly what happened, right? And that's how we did that. And yeah, it's extraordinary.
I had a really amazing experience at Arbor. The one time I've been there, and it was actually with loads of people from our community. And we had a big community party for summer solstice the night before in Hartington, just down the road. And we had a brilliant night. And then a big group of us met at Arbor the next day to do like a meditation, because I've always taken people the next day for and we've always done them in key areas, like having all these groups of clearly awakened souls that are just on a big journey. And the same with our live events. We've always held them, like I've always researched the ley lines and actually held them in places on the ley lines. And they're like ayahuasca ceremonies without the ayahuasca. It's mad. But we had this gathering the night before, went to Arbor, and then I stood on the center of sort of rock, and then everybody was like kind of sat round together, like kind of almost like arm's distance from each other. And I was doing the meditation, and then obviously it finished. But then my friend Julie, who was doing the drumming, like to open and close it, she said to me, she was like, "Come here," and I was like, "What?" And she said, "Spirit asked me to open my eyes while I was in the meditation," and I was like, "No." And it was like, "Open your eyes now." So she said she opened her eyes. She said there was a big prism over us on the hill, like an energy prism, like a pyramid. And she said, and there was just like this white light that was from the center coming down onto my head, and then bouncing off onto everybody else's, like activating all their crowns. And it was wild, mate. And I was just like buzzing. And what was really nuts is on the drive on the way there, it was like everyone was behind me in convoy. It was literally like a scene from Transformers, and they're all driving in convoy and stuff. And we literally got there, and then there's actually on I think it's the Transformers the last night, there's actually a picture of a big white galactic light coming down into Stonehenge, which and that's why I was referring back to these movies, Transformers, because they literally show you everything, man. Like about humans being galactic bridges between galactic heaven and earth, basically.
100%. And what cracks me up when I listen to you talk is like it does crack me up about myself, because I'm like, what am I doing writing spiritual books, opening a healing centers? Like, what? Hey, what? It's hilarious, actually. And I say that really for anybody watching who's like, what's my role in life? And there's a lot of people I find at the moment with the long dark night of the soul comes this thing about, well, what do I do next? What am I here for? What's my job? What's my mission? And, you know, and somebody mentioned, I'm getting the Facebook comments here and I'm trying to read them. And somebody said something about the plant medicine comes to you when you're ready. And it's so weird that I'm seeing that comment literally 40 minutes after I've just had exactly the same conversation with my eldest daughter. Because she said to me earlier, I want to do ayahuasca. I said, no. It comes to you when you're ready.
Yeah.
And it's your personal journey. You don't force it. It's not a recreational thing. You don't just do it. It's like it calls you, it speaks to you and reaches out to you when you're ready, which is nuts that I'm saying this, really, because 10 years ago I'd have laughed at anybody saying this sort of stuff.
Oh, literally, yeah, of course.
Maybe even less, actually.
Yeah, I joke about all the time, mate. I was like, you know, you wouldn't catch us in this in the mess in the army, just like, yeah, do you want to have a pint, AJ? I'm like, nah, I really want to do a big meditation in the morning.
Yeah. Well, you just give me a flashback to the mess. The officers. I actually wrote a play called The Mess, based upon the suicide of one of my friends, because he crashed his plane on purpose and they covered it up. And I remember sending it off. Actually, it was a theatre in Lincoln. This is getting mental. I got a reply from a theatre in Lincoln saying, "Yeah, it's very good. Could you just make it more about today's issues?" Right? Because, and this is when you start to understand the brain. What, you know, I did a post the other day about I was a stand-up comic for a bit, and I made a TV pilot that went on air on Granada, and it was about a regional journalist who was the episode. Well, the story was that he was making the opening titles to his TV show, and it was a documentary about him making the opening titles to his TV show that was going on air next week. And in the episode, you see him run over an old woman, kill her, doesn't give a shit, and then he blackmails a counsellor for going to Morocco for paedophilia. This is like crazy that I wrote this in 1995 because I moved to Morocco 20 years later, which is insane. And it was basically calling out fake news because I'd seen it at the Daily Telegraph. When I worked at the Daily Telegraph after the Air Force, I went and worked there for a bit. And I saw, I spoke to all these journalists who basically never got their full story that they wrote onto the front pages because of the sub-editors. There were these invisible sub-editors that it had to go through before it got approved for publication. And they'd get drunk and talk to me, moaning about the fact that their stories never got published. And they got paid so, and I was like, well, why do you work here? And they were like, they pay me so much money that I can't not work here.
Yeah.
You know, these guys were on 100 grand for 40 years ago, which was a lot of money then. And, you know, and I turned that into so I was calling out fake news, you know, and all these, anybody watching, if you are going through a long, dark night of the soul, one of the things that will happen soon, if not now, is that you will get, like, it's like the Egyptians, you know, you get the life review and you get taken back. You might be driving along like I was a few years ago, and then suddenly this memory of something I did that wasn't very nice 30 years ago pops up, and then I had to pull over and work it through. You know, we're having to do this. This is what the inner work is. And I've often been lighthearted about it because it's like, well, you know, who needs to sit and meditate and do all of that stuff? I was always like that, but yes, you do. And it's really good for you if you can go through the pain, because it is painful.
Yeah.
But most of it wasn't you. And that's what, you know, one of my messages one of the reasons for doing this podcast is to tell people it's not your fault. Guilt and shame are the things that they've done to hold you down. And they've done that by, you know, fourth dimensional entities talking to you in your head and sounding like your voice, telling you to trip that kid up at school, telling you to throw that stone at that window, telling you to have that extra pint, telling you to take that line of coke. All of those things that you did that, you know, it wasn't really you. It wasn't really you. So you are forgiven. But now it's what we do going forward. And what I'm really interested to ask you about, AJ, is how can you, because somebody asked us about David Icke, and I knew that was going to come up because I ended up you've been very vocal about that. I've been more gentle, and I did a video about it last night because it is such a big question about, like, this guy who's written all these amazing books, who's woken up loads of people, and yet just won't even look at the Q stuff, won't look at, just slags Trump off every day. And it's like, well, what's going on?
Well, I just think it's there's more people like that with very similar traits that kind of keep people in boxes of information, So I don't actually like limit it to David Icke. It's just that from my own perspective, like having been on so many protests back in the day and always the observer, like you never saw me with a placard or anything like that. I was just constantly watching, observing, just pure military training, really, just literally 5 and 20s, just literally like everything.
I'm the same. I walk down. Do you still walk down streets like checking everything?
Yeah. But just natural. Like I go to restaurants and I sit with my back against the
Yeah,
wall.
I do. Always have to go to the back.
Yeah.
So I've got the room in front of me. Never want anybody behind me.
Yeah. So I wouldn't. So I was always observing at protests and stuff like that. And it was really to get my deeper understanding of like protests. Do they work or don't they? For starters. Then obviously, like I never listened to any of his content, like anyway. But then obviously when we had, us, the world, America had 4 years of fucking Robo Biden, as I like to call him.
What are you trying to say? That wasn't Joe Biden. Are you a conspiracy theorist?
Well, my gran told me that she doesn't think it's the same person, and I kind of to agree with her, but I've kept it quiet till now. That wasn't Joe Biden. But like there was no talk about like what he was doing to the country when he was in charge. Do you know what I mean? So, or whatever version of him, right? Turning it into a fentanyl capital of the world, like open the floodgates to immigration, just literally hammering people for left, right, and Chelsea for everything, whilst fattening everyone up, etc., etc. And then obviously pushing the COVID narrative, like at the start of his tenure. But like he wasn't commenting on anything to do with that. As soon as Trump gets in, and then obviously you see his account mixing with Elon's account. That's it. It was just like free for all, and I soon cottoned on. I was like, people only do that to that level when it's a threat to their narrative that they've literally worked and lived and breathed all this time. Because it's almost like you come to the end of the line with that level of consciousness and understanding. And then I slowly started seeing like, well, all these teachings beforehand weren't necessarily like that hasn't woken anyone up because you wake yourself up. And they weren't necessarily teachings. It's like telling the truth because they have to. Do you know what I mean? And that's when I started seeing that there was a lot of other influencers who project 80% truth, maybe, and 20% distortions. And that distortion keeps people in a box of information all the time in a loop. And keep going round and round and round with no solutions.
It's a limited hangout. It's the same as the Catholic. The Catholic Church is the biggest limited hangout.
Yeah.
Right? Because the controllers know that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, not the other way around. And at some point, we're going to connect to our maker. Our pineal gland might show us something. So they had to create religion to ring fence us. So that is like, has to be 98% or whatever true in order for you to believe in it. And then after a couple of generations, you've got like, well, I come from a line of Catholics, so therefore I'm Catholic. And it's crazy. And, that tactic has been used forever. And it did hit me that if he is a psyop, oh my God, it's a long-term one. But that does make sense. And I'm not saying he is, but I'm saying if he was, it's not beyond the realms of possibility when you understand that time travel is a real thing and time travel technology is a real thing, and a lot of the Q stuff is all about, nothing can stop what's coming. And it was all, what's going on in the last year is that more and more and more of the Q posts are being proved true every single day. Yeah. So,
Well, what I've been saying a lot recently about the Q stuff is for me, it's very obvious that Q is a military intelligence that is actually a back channel for people that actually have those codes in their DNA to connect to it, right? So it doesn't, like, not everybody in the world needs to, conscious beings that are ascending need to connect to Q, right? So we talked about grid workers and people like that, people who do amazing work with crystals, people who like coach light language, people who do lots of esoteric stuff. They don't need to know about like surface level Q stuff because they know that their mission is very much in between realms. You know what I mean? So you can say someone's a Q-tard all you want, but actually, like they're connecting to it. Like they see 17 everywhere. Like they see a bunch of numbers and they immediately add up to 17.
Every day.
In different shapes and forms. It's because it's part of your DNA to connect to Q, because Q is that tool for you to aid in your awakening and ascension journey. And that's what it says in its last post, which says, who coded your DNA? Who put it there? Protect your DNA, ascension, right? Like it's literally there for you, that you put it there. You put it there. It's asking who put it there. You fucking put it there.
Well, that's so funny, because I was going to tell you about the last mushroom journey that I did, proper ceremony. What did I get? I got a message saying, you wrote all of this.
Yeah, we create it all.
And I'm like, your ego goes, well, I can't be me, you know, because the thing is, it's us.
Yeah.
You are me, you know, and that's a bit of a head melter for a lot of people.
But I often use the analogy of, you know, we're literally boxed into a life of fear, but also distractions. And when you're constantly distracted, you're never present, right? But you know, being present is a gift in itself. You know what I mean? To be present, and when you do so, that's when you get all the information that you need for your journey from the and you start. Everything's reflected from the inside out. So the outside world is a reflection of your inside world, because you've already pre-sent it from
to yourself,
like your higher self.
I didn't have a clue about this until. Have you heard of Alex Collier?
Yeah, I recognize his name.
So he's an Andromedan experiencer that has been up on ships for the last 60 years. So he was, you know, during COVID, a lot of his videos from 30 years ago got re-released. And I was like, this guy was way ahead of the curve, talking about all this stuff happening 30 years ago. And I interviewed him about, I don't know, 4 years ago. After, have I told you this UFO? Can I tell you this spaceship story, AJ?
100%, mate.
Okay. I don't want to bore you. I don't. You know,
can't get bored of spaceship stories, mate.
You know, the thing is, it feels like talking to you feels like I've known you forever, but we've only actually ever spoken once or twice before, and a long time ago. But anyway,
just catching up, like cosmically.
Yeah, exactly. So I got this email, and if anybody watching this has heard this story before, go make a cup of tea now, because I'm going to repeat myself. But I got an email from somebody. I was getting thousands of emails a week, and it was like really hard sifting through them and choosing which one that you had time to respond to. It was exhausting, actually. And then this one email said, there was a line in it that made me read it, and it said, "They know you look up every night." And I was like, oh, because that's exactly what I've done every night, every day of my life. I go out, and I look up. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to read this. And it was all along the lines of, I don't watch this show, my friend does. But anyway, I got told by them, because I've been up on the ships for the last 10 years, that they want to communicate with you, and this is how you do it. And I was like reading it going, okay. And it said, next time you go out, look up at the stars. And when you feel connected to one, telepathically talk to it. And she said, don't think that they're above you, because they're not. They actually revere you. And I was like, what? Me? I'm just an idiot in a kitchen. Why would anybody be sending? So I did it that night, and the instructions were telepathically talk to that star, then ask it to move left and right and up and down, just to confirm there's a connection. So I did this. I felt it. It was like unbelievable electricity going through me, and it was beautiful, right? And it started moving, and I was like chatting away in my head with this star, and then there's a big flash of light over here that made me look over here, and I was like, oh. And then I heard a voice saying, it's not like a voice, it's weird, you hear the words but you don't, it's not like normal words, but it said, did you see that? And I turned back and I said, yeah. And there was another flash over here, and I looked again, and then I heard, did you see that? And I said, yes. And then I got asked the question, are you afraid or are you scared? I can't remember the exact word. And the meaning was the same. And I said, no. And as soon as I said no, this amazing light, a huge white light, a kind of white I've never been able to describe better than by saying it looks like it was animated, popped up over there above the houses. I can see through this wall. And then it was just moving really, really slowly along, about 500 feet up.
Yeah.
It was big, right?
It was a proper big orb.
It wasn't a little one; it was a big one, but it was beautiful light, the same kind of light that I saw at Arbor a year later when I did that film. And it was just, and I was just watching it gobsmacked. And then when it came parallel with the back door, the whole sky lit up like an electric blue color, and there was a huge triangular shaped ship there with rounded corners. It wasn't cut up. It wasn't a TR-3B. It was burnt orange in color. It had black hieroglyphics on it all the way around, about 3 layers, I think. And then it just went like that.
Wow.
And it was, ever since that moment, I've been chilled out about what's going on in the world, apart from all the spiritual attacks and demonic attacks and infiltrations and all this kind of stuff that's always been happening, but it's happening less now, especially in the last year. And this is why I describe myself as an apocalyptimist. This is the apocalypse. It's the great unveiling in Greek. That's what apocalypse means. And I've always been an optimist about the outcome, because I just always known this. It's hard to explain. I've just always known this was coming and we were going to be okay. But we've had to go through this kind of initiation, purification ceremony to get to the next level.
Yeah. But this is what I've been discussing a lot with guys recently, because I've been speaking to a lot of men, including people in my family, who've been having a rough time.
What you do in your spare time is your business.
And yeah, it gets a little moist. No, I'm joking. It's been quite difficult for a lot of guys, you know, and so I've been given a lot of, like, not necessarily words of wisdom, just actually just asking them sort of like questions that really make them answer deep truths about themselves, but it's needed so they voice it. Do you know what I mean? And
I've got to tell you, you've done an amazing job.
Oh, thanks, man.
You kind of put yourself down a little bit there. You've done an amazing. Do you know how much men need you? It's nuts. We never had it, did we?
No, we
Who
didn't.
was there? What men were there? You know, ex-soldier that talks about spiritual stuff. Where is it? Doesn't exist. You're the first.
Well, that's why I call myself former squatty knobhead turned spiritual knobhead, because I'm just myself, and I think that's important. You know what I mean? I don't need to strap a crystal to my head and walk around with my staff and sit on a cliff and
but that's
hold a
what's
skull.
funny about it. That's what I was saying earlier. It's so funny that it's ordinary blokes like us that are doing this stuff.
Yeah. But this is the beautiful thing. Like we talked about, obviously, sitting with grandma, the medicine and stuff like that. Like we know that, like, your higher self's voice is like your voice, and your avatar is like almost a bigger copy version of you. Do you know what I mean? And I've had a lot of people who are very esoteric, you know, that have said you're exactly the same up there as you are here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm good. I'm glad, you know, because I think when you've been in the corporate world and all that kind of stuff, right, or you're in the military or whatever it is, and whenever there's a ladder to climb, you know, you're just surrounded by people, you know, and this is no judgment on them. It's just like the program. There's just the programming in it. They're never really their authentic self ever. You know what I mean? Because there's always the next thing. You know, they're never present. You know, and when you're in a working environment, they're a different person to when you're outside. You know what I mean? So again, I always got frustrated with that. And when I was in the army towards the later stage as well, I was going to a lot of personal development events, like way before COVID, you know, to do with entrepreneurship, business, and just networking, like, because I've always loved networking. And, you know, people just take the piss and say, like, oh, what are you going there for? Like, do you need a cuddle and all this kind of stuff? You know what I mean? Because, but that's just the male ego. And, you know, and then obviously and you're surrounded by alcohol and mess dues every other week, and the leave and do here and promotion.
They're awful. I mean, it's hard to explain that to anybody that's not been in the military.
Yeah, and
those things are awful.
Yeah, and you know, and nothing ever good happens after 1 a.m. Do you know what I mean? That's the golden rule. So things get messy. You know, you end up with broken noses and all this kind of stuff, and then you've got, you know, the sport side of it within the military, and you know, do you know what I mean? And it's very male ego orientated, and it takes over people's mind. And unoccupies it. Do you know what I mean? And you mask on all your problems and your traumas and stuff like that. So I've been through all of that, but then worked in the corporate side at Port and Down after the military. So I got to see all the stuff that's going on at Port and Down, and the fact that they fucking made Novichok there. So just like when you were doing your stuff, I was seeing things on purpose where I was.
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%, mate. What's interesting, they got a big building there where they store DNA and stuff like that for crime and investigations. I was the only project manager that never got a pass to that building, as if I was being protected, so I didn't give my DNA over. Because to go in that building to do projects, you had to obviously give over your own DNA, swabs and all the rest of it. So yeah, divinely protected. But going back to the male stuff, so I've been in all these situations. I've had like horrible opioid addiction in the past. In the military, like just smashing tramadols at the Smarties because post spinal surgery, bad. And like up and down the years, like consuming too much alcohol, like just there's always something there. And
I learned to drink in the Air Force.
Yeah, but
everybody did it. We used to fight.
Exactly. Yeah, but my stepdad and that used to have 3 or 4 pints in the Naffy bar at lunchtime, like when he used to be based in Germany. It was just like just constantly consuming.
Yeah.
So I've kind of experienced all these things in different areas up until the point where then suddenly COVID started. I just knew it was a load of bullshit. Yeah. So obviously, I've had a lot of people following me since then because I was ramped the podcast up. But in terms of very early on, there wasn't many males to be seen. You know what I mean? And so you could see the social engineering and the grip like societies had on men on purpose, all by design. You know what I mean? To close the hearts of men. Program them into just like only caring about football, cocaine, and accumulators and energy drinks, and just shit food and Greggs to get through the day, to escape their reality for being on the tools, like et cetera, right?
It's really sad.
And that's where we've come to this, like this stage of the game now where so many men are like in such a bad way because they suddenly don't feel the protector because they can't support their family because of the ridiculous bills and the food and this and that. And at the same time, they're battling their own sort of addictions in whatever way because they're masking their shit because they're not happy, and
a lot of them were abused, right? And this doesn't get talked about enough. Sorry to interrupt you. Just
no, absolutely. And there's a lot of men. There's a lot of men out there. Like in general, we're all seeking the same thing.
Yeah.
And I say that from a place of compassion, but also experience. Is that we all seek unconditional love, okay, from the minute we're born. So as a man or a male, if you weren't hugged by your mum, that stays with you into your adult life, and it affects you in a massive way.
Yeah.
Like myself, my mum didn't hug me. I'm the oldest of 4 boys. Mum and dad split up when I was like 8, 9 years of age, moved to Germany, away from my father figure. Stepdad was in Kosovo and Bosnia all the time, blah, blah, blah. And I left home at 16. Do you know what I mean? And but funny enough, my nan and the legend up there, Gramps.
Hi, Gramps.
And he's an Arcturian knobhead as well. And so I had to do all that stuff all myself, and and then joining the military, and then just you're surrounded by loads of guys with loads of different backstories and stuff like that. But you go through all these things, and even marriage, you can be married for X amount of years, but like you can get to a point where you're like, fucking hell, I'm just busting my ass to pay for all this shit and everybody else's life, and you live in the same place and it's just like the same shit, the same day, very Sim City.
Not how we're supposed to live.
Exactly, yeah. So like that's what really started breaking me down, a couple of years ago. Yeah. And then I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And obviously Corin came into my life, my absolute twin flame goddess of fucking Magdalene-ness, froggy loving wife, and it was literally just like the other half of my soul just walked into my life at that time, and we really grew together. So I've been
through exactly the same thing.
Yeah, and what's beautiful is that at the same time I've been through all those male experiences as well. I found unconditional love like literally at the right time. Well, it found me. Yeah, it found us.
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
Yeah, but that's what we all actually seek, is actually unconditional love, because if you're not experiencing it, or you're not feeling the call into it, or you can't see past this hamster wheel, it's because you're experiencing conditional love. You know what I mean? You may love the other person, but it all comes with conditions. And
My whole marriage was conditional.
Mm.
I didn't realize that because I went in like an open mind, and this is why I was saying earlier on to anybody watching this, that if you've been through, if you've done things that you're ashamed of, you've got to let that shit go, right? Because it's all part of a spiritual journey. It's nothing, don't let that hold you down. Don't let it hold you back. Be you, find you, and get that connection going. It's amazing to hear you talk about that in the way that you have, AJ, because I don't talk about my personal life at all, because my personal life was invaded so hugely by doing the podcast and I was still, reeling from being locked down and stuff, and suddenly I had all these people that like I couldn't understand it. I was like, what why are you adoring me like that? It's ridiculous. I had no idea of the reach of it, and then this angel came into my life, and it's been just extraordinary ever since. And it's just everything you just said makes me want to cry. It's like it's beautiful, and I wasn't ready for it either. Actually, it just came, it happened, and then everything just got better. And that can happen for everybody. And I keep meeting people like who are either losing people through death, or relationships are breaking up, or they're still hanging on. Especially those relationships where somebody's awake and they're still married to somebody that thinks they're an idiot because of it. How can they stay together? It's crazy. And it's been, watching all the relationships break up during 2020 was amazing, actually, because it was the truth. Finally, we are looking at ourselves through true lenses and getting to that point of complete and utter authenticity, right? Which is what we need to do to go to the next level.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And that's what this is all about. And I think, but people are going through dark nights of the soul as well. That if they do have the suicidal thoughts or the intrusive thoughts and stuff like that, you just got to remember that it's just holding a mirror up for you. That's all it is. It's just to observe and not jump on the bandwagon. And it's not about what I was saying to my brother. One of my brothers stupidly tried to take his own life over New Year. But
really, this
year? Yeah. But it's all alcohol related. Funny enough,
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. But I was very quick to say that it's not about exiting the game. Okay, it's about leveling up. You don't need to exit the game. And I say that as someone whose best friend took his own life, hung himself on the back of his door in the sergeant's mess in 2017. I did eulogy at his funeral, talking to his kids right in front of me. It's not about exiting the game. It's about leveling up, and it's about just understanding the cycles that you need to break in order to actually level up. And once you level up, guess what? You got bigger, better ammunition. You got bigger, better tools to play with.
Exactly.
You got more mushrooms to collect, like Mario.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean. And the game just gets better. It
gets amazing, and then it's like instant manifestation starts occurring, because that the whole concept of being in 5D, I think I first came across it 15-20 years ago. I didn't have a clue. I was like, what, do we die? I couldn't get my head around it. But it's already here. We're already doing it. We're just coexisting with people that aren't there yet. And it's this bizarre kind of subtle, beautiful, magical thing that's occurring. That's why it's like an ayahuasca. That's why it's like a plant medicine, because that's magical too. And it's the magic of this life that we lost in 3D. It was very humdrum, very depressing, and all those bloody relatives of mine that fucking died of cancer that didn't need to. Yes, I'm still angry, but I'm processing that because that was their journey and this is my journey, and they taught me. If it wasn't for that, it's so beautiful actually when you see the big picture. But the key to that is losing the fear of death, right? Which is really what I think COVID was about, because you were faced with, am I scared of this virus or not? Do I believe that God got this right or not? Oh, I've got to make a fucking decision now, right? And it was the biggest spiritual test in history. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. It's the best thing that's happened to humanity. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, 100%. And I was actually talking to our community on our community call last night, and I was saying about how I had the same Facebook page from profile from, I think, when I come back to UK from Australia in 2015. And all of a sudden, obviously, COVID started. And like many other people, I was getting like 30-day bans and all this kind of stuff with that personal profile. But at that time, my friends list was very much made up of obviously people I knew where I lived, family, and loads of like, entrepreneurs and people I was just connecting with, like in the UK and the States, and that, like pre-COVID. But then obviously, like, I got to a point where I actually left my wife and my children in July 2024, and within a month I got completely banned off Facebook. Like, and I was like, why is it taking them the best part of like 9 years to finally kick me off? Literally just like that, with no warning, like nothing.
Yeah.
So then I carried on just doing our thing, like building our business with Corin and all that kind of stuff. And then I decided to set up a new Facebook account, and obviously that's the one that this is streaming on right now. And it's like, it's almost as if like that split and that deletion completely happened for me, because I didn't have to deal with any family on the other side. It was like a fresh start, yeah. And and lo and behold, the people that have recently come to our place for like retreats or come to Portugal and stuff like that, I've been off the back of my new Facebook and finding me that way. You know what I mean? So the right people have been brought into our lives all at the right time, and through these beautiful interventions, mate.
That's how it worked. I got kicked off Facebook 3 years ago, I think. It was really bizarre. It was like I was driving to a rally against COVID in Sligo, and all sorts of weird shit happened that day. My phone wouldn't top up, wouldn't work. I got my PayPal account closed down. I had to change my password on Telegram. I lost the Telegram channel. I couldn't get into Facebook, not been able to get back into it ever since. I had 10,000 followers. And it was funny because I was talking about this stuff for quite a long time before COVID. But I did, like you, I had family there, extended family, business associates, the whole thing. And they all thought I was fucking nuts. And then I got locked out. And then I've literally not been on Facebook for 3 years. It's been amazing, very liberating, which then led, and I always got this feeling that we were being nudged this way and nudged that way and nudged this way. And it's, once you truly understand that and trust it, I'll tell you my surfing story, because this story I told on another podcast earlier today, but it's like, hi, Claire Taylor. Yeah, Ballina, that's just down the road. Yeah. Do you know Ballina is actually Baal, right? Ballynahinch, Baal worship. Just letting you know. I told this story earlier, and I'm going to tell you it now because I think it's really relevant to this. I had my first surfing lesson in a place called City Kalki when I was 45 years old, and I thought I was way past it. And the kids were all getting up on there. I had 5 little kids, and they were all surfing really well, and I couldn't get up. And this guy, Ali, was there. And Ali was like 70 years old, but looked 20. Still had a 6-pack, loads of hair, pictures of him with busty, beautiful women everywhere. He was a great character. And he just came up to me and said, Mr. Mark, I'm going to give you a surf lesson. And I went, okay. And he just held my hand and took me into the sea. And I was like, what about the surfboard? He said, you don't need it. I was like, what kind of surf lesson is this? And he took me in, and we were up to about here in the water, and he just looked out at the ocean, and he said, do you hear her? And I'm like, what's he talking about? Yeah. And then he went, she knows if you are afraid. And I went, oh, okay. And then he turned around and walked back and told me to pick it. And I was straight up on the surfboard. Best lesson I ever had. Didn't even involve a surfboard. Yeah. And that's what's going on with all of us.
Yeah.
We've just got to connect with God, with nature. It's all around you, just once you connect, ground, and then make some sensible decisions like, structured living water with salt and, all that kind of stuff, which led me to opening a healing center, all that knowledge where really they're bridges. It's back to the bridge concepts. We can heal ourselves with our minds, but we're just not quite there yet. So we have you know, this concept of med beds, for example, for me, it's been like a carrot on a stick, and it's been a spiritual test. You know, the amount of people I met who said, "No, don't worry, I don't need any of that. I'm waiting for the med beds."
Yeah.
Like, are you fucking insane?
Yeah.
You're dying of cancer and you're waiting for the med bed. Yeah, well, it's okay because next week I'm going to open up 1 million healing centers across the world because the RV is going to happen. I'm going to be a billionaire by Tuesday. I'm like, are you nuts? You know, it's all spiritual. It's just a fucking ayahuasca trip. You see that and you go, well, okay, I've seen how good that could be, but we're not there yet. What can I do today now to make that come closer?
Yeah.
And it's spiritual, universal law. You know, it's simple.
Yeah. But it's interesting you put those two concepts together, like the ayahuasca and the med beds, because one of the big lessons, like early on in my sort of sitting with ayahuasca journeys, was like just showing me like I am my greatest healer, and it was giving me like little sort of examples where I suddenly feel a little bit sick in the stomach, and you like the mind goes, oh, I want to purge, I want to throw up, and I want to do this, I want to do that, but it's like, no, like breathe through it and then remove that feeling yourself, like that sort of dis-ease, that discomfort. So that's all I did, and then it just come out as a fart, and it's like, see, you're like in complete control, and you literally heal yourself. So it's like so in essence that's showing me, like you're talking about dangling carrot at the med beds, is that we are the med beds ourselves. You know what I mean? Because
we are the med bed.
Like we are the med bed, and you know, and that's why I think, you know, we are the med bed. We have an eternal EBS, which kind of is when we're ready. And I think all the people watching are experiencing, in essence, an EBS of sort. You don't need to wait for something to come on your phones to go, oh, that's it, military operation is over. We now need to sit there and watch a movie that somebody else has made telling us what the truth is. Like, we don't feel what it is. It's just that we've got to sit there and watch it. Like, it just doesn't.
I think you're 100% right.
It doesn't make sense to me. Like, and everyone's reality is different.
Yeah.
Everyone's reality is different. And we keep forgetting all the time is that, you know, probably about 80% of the population out there all are NPC background characters, right? That are there to prop up the Matrix and all the bullshit nefarious programs, right?
They're all a test. It's all a test. It's like all the trolls, all the people do you get slagged off online like I do?
Not enough, mate. I wish I got some more. Like, I don't feel I've tested enough, if I'm fair.
Jesus.
Go mad in the comments, guys.
Well, it's, you know, that was probably because you're you know, it's all about frequency, right? But I pissed off so many, attack, and it's like, well, that's for me. And the attack, since I've calmed my core, let's put it that way. And I'll tell you the analogy that I like. It's I've got one here. I did this on a video the other day because I saw a guy using an orange as an analogy, saying if you squeeze an orange, you get orange juice out of it. If you get squeezed, like the human race has been squeezed enormously for 5 years, what comes out of you? If it's anger, if it's resentment, if it's jealousy, if it's all of those things, well, that was in you and it needed to come out. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. It's just coming out on a mass scale, and every time you affect somebody in a positive way, that has an effect on thousands of people. And once you see it that way, it's really simple, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so funny. And Emma's just put it in the comments there, orange, right? Mate, oranges are coming up for me big time so much at the minute.
Well, there you go. That's why I did it. There's no such thing as coincidence.
Like, massive.
And who's the orange man?
Exactly. Who's the orange man? But also, who's the orange princess? Mary Magdalene.
There you go.
And it's like, I really feel this Magdalene energy is like ramped up massively. And like, funny enough, orange, the orange man, Princess Orange, Mary Magdalene. Like, what's that TV show called? Orange is the New Black.
Orange is it? Yeah, that's right. The one in prison with the lesbians. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what, like, we're seeing a lot of signals to do with orange at the minute, because like orange is the new black. What's black? Like Black Swan. You've also got Orange County, which is that side of California from LA down to San Diego, which is obviously where the Golden Gate Bridge is, which the original color was orange.
Scott Adams talks about it in this book about how the color orange was used by whoever's behind this incredible operation, and the hair was very specifically used to get people talking about him at the dinner table, and then how that's been toned down since then. But as you were saying, that the Mary Magdalene thing is absolutely fascinating, because obviously that was deleted from our spiritual kind of knowledge, and it's something that I've had to come to and learn about. And when I was when I presented the Great Awakening tour in Birmingham, I was on stage for about 8 hours that day, and afterwards I got back and I was like, I need another venue. And literally I was outside having a fag going, and there must be somebody out there that's got a venue. I got an email from Manchester Monastery saying, oh, can you come and do a show here? And I did 2 big shows there at Manchester Monastery, which is where allegedly Mary Magdalene is, which I didn't know.
Well, it's no surprising that the Magdalene energy is like powerful for there, and why Manchester itself's been absolutely hammered. And I've done so many talks on this about why they've
Cunia. It was originally Mam Cunia, and you had these 2 the boobs, Mammy. That's why it was called. And then they inverted it to Mancunia, so it got inverted, and then it became Manchester.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
And the place has been absolutely hammered through like immigration, ideology, like terror attacks, false flags, and but obviously notorious for its trafficking and everything else like that. It's got powerful ley lines that go through it. So there's no surprise that city in particular needs such an overhaul. Do you know what I mean? Like a huge boost. But I've really kind of like reported on a lot of this over many videos and conversations about how, especially like the East Coast, for example, has been absolutely hammered because, and you'll know what I'm on about, because of the lineage in Ireland and the lineage on the West Coast of England and the East Coast and the Druids.
Yeah.
As part of this awakening of the grid system, it's the cabal like have tried so hard to keep us disconnected from the land, knowing that we would be going through an awakening process, keep us divided, keep us like scrimping and scraping at work, like feeding the systems instead of connecting with the land, because they don't want people reconnected with their actual lineage. So Grimsby, for example, has been turned into an absolute shithole. Like the people are lovely, like they're amazing, it's really friendly. Like when I moved up there, I literally moved from Salisbury and then lived behind Blundell Park on a terrace street, and it was like to the eye, it was like, what the fuck? And then I didn't really experience any crime, but that said, it's like it's been hammered on purpose because of the lineage of the people there. Same with like Newcastle, Redcar, down Norfolk, like all these places, they've all been run down into the ground for that reason. All the people have been fattened up.
Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and Liverpool's been a testing ground.
Demonize Liverpool. It's awful.
Yeah, it's a test. Yeah, it's a testing ground.
Yeah,
but if you really look at it, like we've always seen that rivalry between Liverpool and Man United, for example. They're only 25 miles apart, roughly. But at the same time, like the Scousers literally take no shit, same as the Northern Irish, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like you come inland a little bit of Manchester, and it's like the whole freaking town's just bent over, pulled the pants down, and gone. Yeah.
It's shocking. The same as the whole of Ireland. But I want to tell a story. Can I tell a story about the Manchester thing as well? So during this whole situation in the last 5 or 6 years, being public about all this stuff, there's so much to this story, but I'll keep it as simple as I possibly can. Like, and this is really for everybody to kind of get your radar so that you start looking for these clues to your own life, right? So I got taught some ancient Lemurian words. Ma, ha, ka, wa, ha, ta. I probably said it wrong. Ta, he, wa, ka, ha. Each one of those sounds is like a multi-dimensional. It's multi-dimensional. It's not just a sound. It's not just a word. It's way more than that. It's like the original language. Okay, like in Irish, apparently the Bible was originally written in Irish, and it may have been in the or the Irish that came after that. The one that they teach in schools is not the same thing. And these are multi-dimensional symbols. I told you about the UFO with the hieroglyphics. All the hieroglyphics are multi-dimensional things that, if you understand them, I'm on a live show. Don't walk in like that. It's like crazy. My daughter's just walked through the door. You want to say hello to everybody?
Okay.
Oh, she's going to say hello.
Oh, go on.
Hundreds of thousands of
Hello,
people.
there's my daughter.
Hello, young Miss Attwood. Miss Attwood.
That's AJ.
Hi, AJ. Nice to meet you.
He was in the army.
Nice to meet you.
Your dad's waxing lyrical about something to do with. Oh yeah. So Maha Kawa.
Maha Kawa.
So I learnt this, and then I learned what the sounds actually meant. And Ma is the first light of creation in Lemurian, right? And I was like, I listened to this and I went, hang on a minute, my name's Mark Anthony, Mark Attwood. I lived in Manchester. Yeah, she's heard this story before. So I moved to a place called Markington Street in Manchester. I moved to Marrakesh in Morocco, the real name for which is Maghreb. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And that leads me to ask you if I can play a poem while I go to the loo.
Crack on, mate. Is it drown out the sound of you going to the toilet?
It will do, yeah. You ready?
Go for it.
Here we go.
Oh, I think I have to. Hang on, mate. Oh, you done it, yeah.
Does that show it?
No, I'll do it here. There you go.
He ta wa ka ha ma. There and back again. Do you see? Multi-dimensional beings are we. From the energy of the first light, through the calendar of the light of days, with the veil down, we were in a haze. 1 to 10 and back again. In the darkness we held each other tightly until the light came. The dragon blood, the Taki, the Akashic potentiality. At the speed of memory, we came, there and back again. From the I am to the we are, we came far, there and back again. It is time. Oh, there we go. I'm back. Just in time.
That was awesome, mate.
Guys, I'm on a podcast. I'm in the kitchen, but you've got to shush.
I was actually going to say, mate, it'd probably be a good opportunity to probably give it a wrap. I've actually, as we've been talking, been constantly refreshing the silver price, and it is literally.
What is it?
It is literally like smooching distance from $88.
88. And did you see straight after the 250th anniversary in the States, they've just released a trailer for a musical that they're putting on, Back to the Future, the musical.
Right, as long as I get my replicator, that's all that matters.
Yeah, really, you want to replicate? I just want a flying Jag.
Yeah, I've wanted an Audi R8, like a proper Tony Stark type, for a long time.
Shit. You want a Jag, mate? You want a fucking Jaguar?
Yeah, I've never been a fan. I don't know why.
This is funny. It just makes me laugh because I'm such an old man. I'm an old Englishman. It's because there was an old Jaguar in my street that was abandoned as a child, so I kind of have this love affair with Jags. But I know what you mean. I've had 3 Audis and they are wonderful. They're shit now, but they were good. That's a good car. Flying one would be good, and we can go for a race.
What, just doing like air donuts above Buckingham Palace?
Exactly, that'd be great.
It's like doing air donuts above all the satanic sites, and that's just saying
I'd love to do that with you.
He's fucking winning now.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah, like you're on that grid down here. Have a look up here at this grid. As above, so below, fuckers.
Yeah, no, the fuckers are done, right? And we got to realize this. They're done. They're evil. They're unbelievably evil, but we kick their ass.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, and you know, for the people watching and listening, obviously, massive thanks for tuning in. we've got 1,500 people across channels, which is amazing.
I just thought it was just me and you having a chat. I forgot it was out on air, but it's been lovely chatting to you. Yeah, I got a lot of respect for you, and I think you're doing an amazing job. And keep going, man, because your kids are going to be proud of you, and you know, just everybody watching you. You're all amazing. You know, we got this far. We've just been through the biggest psychological operation, genocide attempt in human history. Well done for getting this far. Yeah, even if you took the medical intervention, we forgive you. You were duped. It's not your fault. We're here. We've got all the knowledge. We've got all the stuff to move forward. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, just to reiterate on that, it doesn't matter what your medical status was over the last 5 years. Like, it's actually been part of your journey. And I say to a lot of people who went through that process, you know, for whatever reason, you know, cohesion, you know, many reasons. It's actually really powerful, because the amount of people that have come to our retreats in Portugal or our house or in our community, our online community we've got now, you know, who had a couple of the, you know, the shots and stuff, like, they might as well have not had them. Do you know what I mean? Because so many of them have got their gifts coming through. Their transformational experience has been amazing to watch. And it just shows you, like, at the time that they were in that period, it's actually super powerful to actually have that, and then, like, and the potential, and still come out the other side, literally powerhouse in the head, like doing all the inner work, healing themselves. Like, that's what this is all about, right? And you know, and the conversations I have with these people, it's just like, I'm so humbled by it. And that whole period was such a big part of my life. You know, I've lost, like, you know, it was the downfall of my mum, really. My uncle, one of my aunties, like, you know, and like lots of illnesses and sickness in between. But I feel that, like, I experienced that because I needed to at that level, compared to most people I knew around me. So I go hard on the podcast and get truth out there and all that kind of stuff. You know, we've, like you said, been placed and I had things come into our life that have changed that direction for whatever reason, always at the critical time. And I just know that every single person, no matter what their choices were, like, if they're watching this, you are literally on an ascension path to fucking the golden age. Like, NPCs aren't sat there going, Maureen, turn our fucking news off. AJ Mark are on, like, they're talking about ascension, you know.
It's and they've got like, kids coming in, fucking taking the piss out of them. And, you know, this is brilliant. Yeah.
And that's what's so beautiful to watch, and that's why I love, you know, the community that we've built and the people that have just become such a big part of it, and all the people that have come and gone and taught me lessons. You know what I mean? Like, I'll always be forever grateful. I don't have enemies.
No.
But, you know, or grudges. It's just lots of isms.
Well, it's just you teaching yourself through another form. That's all it is. All everybody needs to remember is
God absolutely does win.
Which I find quite funny, actually, because it reminds me of a 70s sofa advert. Welcome to God Wins, where you get this sensational settee. So there's just
gags us all along.
Exactly.
But that's what I say about the Q drop site. Don't take it all literally. Like, they say, we have it all, because we have it all. Like, we have everything inside us. You know, like, the best is yet to come, because the best is yet to come. We're going in the golden age. It's like all these subtle little messages, again, we put there because we create it all.
We create it all. Yeah. I wrote a poem called The Best Is Yet to Come. Oh my God, it was hard to put that out because everybody hates you because you sort of saying, well, maybe Donald Trump's doing some good things. And, you know, being English and saying that stuff, well, being in Ireland, everybody hates him here. It's nuts. But anyway.
That's a psychological op in itself. Yeah, but obviously you're not on Facebook and stuff like that, Mark. Where's is the best people to get in touch with you through your website?
No, I don't want anybody to get in touch with me. I have way too much to do. But if you want to come to you should do one of your retreats at our healing center in Ireland. Live5dhealth.com, guys. Go and have a look at that. It's pretty special. We built something very special there.
Yeah, man.
And we're getting I've got some very exciting news about that fairly soon. I mean, I'm on YouTube. I've got they just reinstated 2 of my old channels. I don't know what to do with them, but I've got a new channel.
I had the same.
Yeah, I'm just sticking with the one I'm on, even though it's got less subscribers.
Yeah.
And the markattwoodshow.com and x.com/Mark. I don't know. It's kind of weird. You know, if you want to find me, you'll find me. Just don't come to my house, right?
Fair enough. We won't. No, it's been absolutely amazing.
Come, but only with a private. I got stalkers. It's weird. I don't want to go there.
Likewise, as I was mentioning earlier, guys, we've built a whole new platform on actually through Kajabi. It's actually amazing. It's really great for community assets, and we've literally moved over from a different platform.
I was involved in that 20 years ago.
Yeah, but it works absolutely brilliant. And my good old mate Ollie Ollerton was like, you know, kudos for him for giving us a nudge. But Corin's built this phenomenal platform now, and we can just do so much in it. So we've created this whole community members hub. Me and Corin are putting loads of free courses in there for members, and I just put the website. Work. Oh, well, let me put it on Facebook for some reason. So missionconsciousness.com. Because it's a brand new site, we've actually opened it up for like a lifetime membership for the first 200 members for just £99. That's literally for life. And people get like weekly meditations from me and Corin, weekly hub chats with all the other members around the world. We've got a whole, like basically like a social media forum in there, which you can even leave voice notes for people and stuff like that. But we've categorized it all. So we've got like health and wellness, the kitchen. We've got home education sections and the stuff that people really want to learn and talk about, homegrown food, all this stuff. And it's all in one hub.
You should come and do a talk over here because we've got this. Come and visit us.
Yeah, we'll do. Absolutely. Yeah. I haven't actually been to mainland Ireland ever. I've been all over the place.
I'm so glad you said that because I was actually having this conversation a couple of days ago, trying to explain to somebody that in the 70s and 80s, we were brought up to be terrified of Ireland.
Yeah.
And, you know, as a teenager, I had to check under my car for bombs every day.
Yeah.
That's you can't explain. How do you explain that to people?
And
the crazy thing is, I've got an Irish grandmother, but I didn't find out she was Irish till I was 20 years old. Because nobody would talk about it because she was the reason my granddad got cut off because he married her and she was Irish. And they said, if you marry her, you're going to get cut off. And he was rich.
Yeah.
It was like, it all makes sense. You know?
Yeah. Absolutely no surprises whatsoever. But no, mate, thanks for having an awesome catch up. I can see from all the comments and that it's all been extremely well received. And, you know, for those of you people who are watching it back later, you know, drop us a comment, let us know what's going on in your life and how you're coping with things and what you're experiencing. You know, it's great to have these conversations on the threads because everyone's kind of helping each other. That's one thing I've really noticed on my social media posts is that a lot of people are like answering a lot of questions for each other rather than just waiting for the postee to comment on everything.
We're in a post-guru age. Right?
Yeah.
That's really important for people to do, and it's beautiful to watch because everybody's becoming their own.
Yeah. Well, everyone's turned into freaking decoders, which is amazing.
I know. Well, that's brilliant. That's what I said the other day about the when they did the Epstein file release, but then made it so you could copy and paste from a PDF, put it in a Word file. I said it's just made the whole world into anons. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Awesome, man. All right, bro. Well, much love to yourself, and much love to everybody for tuning in and taking the time out. It's been an epic conversation. Always great when it free flows because again you're just getting two guys who are just being their authentic selves, being spiritual knobheads in a crazy world. So thank you fellow spiritual knobheads for joining us and tune in and we'll definitely do this again soon, brother.
I'm gonna go and buy spiritualknobheads.com now before you do.
Look out for mine and Corin's new podcast, which actually is coming soon. It's actually called At Home with the Spiritual Knobheads.
Brilliant.
So look out for that. All right, much love, guys. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Lots of love.